Organizations shape the world around us. It's time we shape them differently. Welcome to Orchestrate for Impact. I'm Janna DeVylder, and welcome to the first of what I hope will be many conversations we'll have around how we can prepare organizations today to shape a better tomorrow. And you're someone who sees the possibilities of organizations. You believe organizations can be a force for good. You know they could be doing so much more for the people who work within them, for the people they serve, for the communities, the environment, and the world that they exist in. You know that there's much more at stake than just business outcomes. You step into the complexity and you're figuring out how to take it on. How do we bring together people? How do we work across the boundaries and the silos that we face within our organizations? How can we hold those tensions and set the stage for something better to emerge? Ultimately, you know that impact doesn't happen by accident. That's orchestrated. So this podcast is for you. Organizations affect nearly every part of our lives. Just take a moment wherever you are right now and have a think about what's surrounding you, how you got to where you are today, literally how you got to where you are today. Were you in a car? Were you on a bus? And perhaps you're in a room right now. There's electricity. You're using furniture and materials around you. Maybe you just came from a doctor's appointment. Maybe you just got your mail. Maybe you looked in the mail and you saw that you have a tax due. Perhaps you dropped your kids off at school. So many aspects of our lives are intersected, large and small. And each of these organizations are contributing in different ways. The common denominator across them all is that they all have a capacity to be contributing to the world that we need. That also means that they equally have the capacity to be creating a world that we do not want to be in. Let's imagine that because of this outsized impact organizations have, we can purposely be setting them up so that if they're operating in particular ways and being in the world in a way that contributes more positively, then we should have more positive impacts that we need. And so let's talk about what we by orchestrate for impact. Let's break that down. So I'm going to start at the end with thinking about impact. So with impact, I'm not talking just about business success or business outcomes or organizational outcomes. I'm talking more about the broader impacts in our world, societal, economic, social, environmental, people, place, planet. Bigger impacts that no one organization actually is solely or wholly responsible for. It's the act and the contribution of many organizations and many individuals that actually gets to that impact. So these are complex, multifaceted things. So if we go back from impact, we then go, okay, what kinds of things can organizations be doing? What kinds of outcomes could organizations be creating that connect us to those impacts? When I come in with these big concepts of we want to be more equitable, we want a more equitable world. Okay, what does that look like within an organization? And how does that actually manifest itself in the day-to-day? And again, it's never going to be one single thing in an organization that does that. So how do we actually break that down? So that could be around being equitable. It could be around being sustainable or circular. It could be around we want to be an economic contributor to our society. We want to create opportunities for our communities. So it's bigger, broader things. Perhaps it's we want to reduce the amount of unemployment, or we want to increase the accessibility of the world around us. Okay, big concepts. How do we then go back to orchestrating for that? And the thing that I'm exploring with the platform of Orchestrate for Impact is that a lot of organizations don't know how to translate that big idea into the everyday. So, how do we actually say and create a language around how we think about what an organization is made up of? And how do we then orchestrate that, bring those elements together to actually get to that impact? So, then we talk about orchestration. What does it mean to orchestrate? And orchestrate's not the same as manage a project or get the timeline right or make sure that we have a plan. It's, do we actually know what those elements are and how we need to bring them together to best get to the types of outcomes we need that will contribute to that larger impact? So, for example, let's say that we wanted to contribute to our community's economic growth. One way that we might think about as an organization that we can do that is in how we procure. What does our procurement look like, and how are we actually engaging with our local market to be contributing and to be giving them an opportunity to be providing us service, and in turn, we're providing more economic opportunity locally rather than for an organization that's somewhere else. With that example, I might think then around the types of elements I might need to get into place are in our strategies. We need to be thinking about that we want to be spending our money locally more than we do want to be spending our money with globally reaching organizations or with organizations even in the next state over. Those are choices that we can make, but maybe we put them into our strategy so that we're quite deliberate around that in our decision making. Perhaps then it gets built into how we write the briefs and how we go out to market and how we decide the weighting of those businesses that are going to be applying to deliver service to us. We let them know which aspects that we might be weighing more or less in order to give some favor to local businesses to make sure that we're doing as much as we can to buy and support locally. And then perhaps it's then built into our finance systems and thinking about, how are we tracking where we're spending our money and how can we be measuring even from a quantitative level of how much that is, but then how are we measuring what kind of economic impact that's having in our communities and what we're contributing to? That's just a small slice of a larger concept of the economic health and development of our community, and then bringing it right back into, okay, what kinds of things do we need to have in place within our organization to do that? So those are the different elements we have in place. And then the orchestration is around, what are the methods or means by which we actually bring that together? Is it just you put it in place and voila, it's done? Or do we need to bring them together in a particular way? And so what this podcast is going to do is to explore one or more of those particular angles. So one might be, what kinds of things are organizations orchestrating for? What kinds of impacts? And equally, what kinds of things are sparking a challenge or a need that suggests that we need to be going in that direction? So what are those things that are making us think, we need to be different and we need to do something differently within this organization? The next thing might be, what are they orchestrating with? So what kinds of forms or practices of orchestration are really successful and are working well? Another type of episode might be a deep dive into a specific organizational element, something that plays a really critical role in the organizations of tomorrow. So what does it mean for transparency in an organization? What does that unlock for us? What kinds of things does that set us up for into the future? And then lastly, we'll explore different types of transformations. And if we think about transformations as unlocking moments for organizations, sometimes those transformations can be used as a catalyst to get us closer to setting us up to be contributing to those impacts. And they may not be things that we're thinking about, but how do we actually leverage these transformations to get ourselves set up to be a more adaptable and ready organization for tomorrow? The world is facing complex challenges, and organizations have no choice but to be facing into how they can prepare themselves for that into the future. So how do we actually use this to be getting set up to be contributing in more positive ways, get those organizations to be a positive force, get orchestrators within organizations to better understand the materiality of organizations and thinking about organizations as an object of design, understanding the different elements it takes to be an adaptive, responsive, and responsible organization, and start to use the opportunities of transformation to get those elements in place. And slowly or fastly, we will actually get to a different place. We'll have better organizations, and we'll get to that better outcome for all of us in the world. Coming up, I've got some people lined up to talk to us about social procurement and what it takes to set that up within an organization and what types of impacts that can contribute to. I have a conversation lined up around how we can use data and visualization to help us really understand the state of where we are, the state of where we want to be, and to be understanding what our decisions will do and how they'll get us to particular outcomes and impacts. And then there's an episode around systemic design and how we can explore using that as a means of understanding the broader interconnectedness and relationships of the ecosystems that our organizations sit in, and to explore how we might use that to better orchestrate where we're trying to get to. There's so many different perspectives, expertise that we need to bring together. So please be involved, subscribe, share your thoughts, participate, give some ideas of what you'd like to hear next. We need to have this as an open dialogue across all of us. I'm so excited for the conversations to come. This is just the beginning, so I really can't wait to share this with you.